This is probably going to be the most controversial mod review that I have ever or will ever make. Unlike Outcast or Spark of Hope, where people generally have the same opinion about the mod, people's opinions of Exit music diverge hard. Generally speaking, people either love it with all of their soul or hate it to the fiery depths of hell. I would probably consider myself on the fence about that, but no matter how neutral I try to be, someone is going to accuse me of leaning one way or the other. So instead of trying to kiss the ass of everyone out there, I'm just going to say what I think. And if people like it, great. And if they don't like it, well, I'm sorry. That's not my intention. I didn't mean to upset you. But anyway, enough stalling. Let's get into it. G'day everyone, my name is Ryonix, and welcome, finally, to a review of Doki Doki Exit music, a mod made by Lucy. It has been almost a year since my last mod review. I'm recording this on November 13th, 2020, and my last review uploaded on November 21st, 2019. To put that into perspective, the coronavirus didn't exist when I made my last review. That's fucking insane. However, when I was looking through my old files, I found that I had written a script in April of 2019 for a full review of Exit music. It's fully written, it's fully worked out, but for some reason I just never recorded it. So today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. I am going to be reading from the script I made a year and a half ago, and I'm going to sort of be, as well as discussing the mod, I'm also going to be discussing how my opinions of the mod have changed over time, how my reviewing style has changed, and just, yeah, I'm just gonna see if I've been a stubborn asshole whose mind has been the same this entire time, or whether I've come around or not. Anyway, let's get the basics out of the way. First off, Exit music is a tragedy mod. It is primarily focused on Natsuki. The other Dokis are there, but we'll get to them later. Some of the Dokis do go crazy and or yandere. Your files are not tampered with in any way, and the playtime is roughly 4 to 5 hours, depending on how fast you read. Now for the plot. Major spoiler warning. I will be spoiling literally everything throughout the entire mod. Carry on, my wayward son. There will be no secrets when I am done. This is your last warning. Exit music starts on the day of the festival in the original Act 1, where basically you find Sayori in a room, she's hanging herself, but instead of getting there too late while she's in the act of committing Sayori-cide, you actually manage to catch her before she does it and take her to the hospital. This, I actually think, is one of the best beginnings to a mod out there, actually. It pulls you into a story you know, so you understand what's going on, what's happened before, you don't need to be clued in. There's no extreme amounts of exposition, it starts with action, it starts intensely, and it gets you pretty involved right at the start. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I can't believe this. Sayori wouldn't do something like this. Jeez, I forgot how emotionally intense the start of Exit music was. I forgot it really just starts you right into the action. It's awesome. I love it. At the hospital, Natsuki walks in and you can see that she's been beat up quite badly. Afterwards, you go straight to her house. It's a mod, it's dramatic, I can forgive it. Where you save her from attempting to kill herself. That's 2 suicides in one day. That is so extreme. And then you save her from her abusive dad by having her live with you. It's actually quite a unique take on helping the Dokis with their issues, because I can't really think of any other mod where, like you say, you try to help Yuri with her cutting by inviting her over to your house, or help Sayori by inviting her over and just keeping watch on her. Like, there are stories that do that for sure, but there are none where the entire story revolves around that. And certainly at the time, I believe it was the first mod to do that. So it gets a point for being original there. Basically, everything goes to shit. Sayori gets super depressed, Yuri goes yandere, and Monica goes crazy. Natsuki's dad kidnaps her while you're away, and when you go to save her again, she has already killed herself by the time you arrive. You spend a few days in MC's mind, just letting him deal with the grief before he, too, ends his own life. It's quite a unique take on the Romeo and Juliet story. I do like how at the end, we spend a decent amount of time in MC's mind, just letting him wallow in his own grief before he instantly kills himself. I know a lot of mods that have double suicide or Romeo and Juliet ending. A lot of them are just one of them dies first and the other is like, I can't live without you, self-stab, and it's all over. So I appreciate that in this instance, they allowed us to just sit with the emotion for a bit before hitting us with the other death. Overall, for the story as a concept, I don't really have a problem. The ideas are fine, it's just more the execution that I find a few more problems to go over. So, you know I'm gonna have to talk about it, so we'll just get them straight out of the way now. Let's talk about the characters. First off, starting with Natsuki. Natsuki was written fine, but she was really just a damsel in distress for the entire mod. She doesn't really exhibit any character traits besides horniness, depression, and damsel in distress. Which, again, it's fine, it serves the purpose well, but it's not... You could have done so much more with her. I feel like you really could have looked into the mind of someone who is suffering through this abuse. You could have gone through the route of post-traumatic stress disorder or paranoia that she's constantly going to be captured, and it delved into it a little bit, but I don't feel like it delved as deep as I would have liked for it to be a really interesting story. I suppose that's more down to personal preference, but for me, as a person who really enjoys the character of Natsuki, it was a shame to see her not portrayed super well and just sort of used as a plot device. Sayori was also written fine. A few moments were hit and miss there, but for the most part, as far as her character portrayal goes, it seemed in line with her personality. The only problem with Sayori is that she never really shows up. She tries to commit suicide at the start, you save her, and then you just never see her again until the end? Like, is MC not worried about his friend who tried to kill herself a day ago? She's alone in her house for like 2 weeks before MC sees her again, and he doesn't even think about her once. It's ridiculous. But anyway, if I can't stay on the characters for too long, otherwise I'm gonna just be ranting for hours. Monica was written badly. I'll just say that outright. She gets better towards the end of the mod, but towards the start, her character is just flat out awful. It tries to go the route of crazy Monica who's trying to end all her friends, but even though this mod is a continuation of the original game, she's not self-aware for some reason, or if she is, she's not using that awareness for anything. So she's just going crazy, and we don't have any reason why. The Monica in the original DDLC has motivation for what she does because she believes she's a game character. She believes she has a right to kill off the others because they're not real, but she is real because she's sentient. That's her mindset. So in this mod, what is her reasoning for going crazy? You ruined the festival. I hate you. Please die. Cool, man. Yuri was written terribly. There's no other word for it. Keep in mind, I am biased because Yuri is my favorite Doki, but just objectively speaking, her character was not used as effectively as it could be. She has similar problems to the way Monica was written, where she's yandere, but since Monica isn't self-aware and not messing with the character files, Yuri has no reason to be acting yandere. And I suppose you could say the same about Sayori's depression, but we don't know how bad that was without Monica's interference. But anyway, back to Yuri. In this instance, we only ever see Yuri's yandere side. And to be fair, when she's in yandere mode, her yandere side is written very well. She's constantly making moves to try and get MC away from Natsuki, exploiting her sexuality to try and manipulate MC. It's a really effective use of the yandere side of the character, but it's just so one-dimensional. Yuri is so much more than this, and she can be so much more than this in the story. She can be such a more nuanced character, but it seems like, no, you're a girl who is jealous. That is what you be. Do not even try to be like a normal human being. You know that you can do better. See, it seems like this that made me realize just sort of what wasted potential Yuri had. Like, just imagine if she had been Natsuki's best friend in the mod. Like, she was all cheery, she was super supportive, and like, she was the only other person Natsuki could turn to in these sort of situations. But whenever Natsuki wasn't in the room, then Yuri started flirting with MC and trying to manipulate him. And then whenever Natsuki would come back, MC would be like, yo, Yuri's doing some shit. And she'd just go, no, it's fine, you're just overreacting. And so that way there'd be some internal conflict between MC and Natsuki, and it would make sense why Natsuki keeps allowing MC to go meeting up with Yuri. It would make her much more dimensional character. It would show the acting side of the yandere thing. It would have been so awesome, but they didn't do it. Oh well, I can dream. Redux, please. This was the creator's first mod, to be fair, so I can't really ditch them too much for not having proper writing conventions, but it does seem like all of the main Dokis were made to be sort of just one-dimensional characters that only were there to serve their purpose in the story before they were gone. MC is fine, makes a few, like, stupid decisions, but all MCs do, so. Natsuki's dad is super underutilized. Like, seriously, you could do so much more with him. But, I mean, at the same time, the way he is used just sort of as this mysterious, villainous figure, it's fine, it works. Definitely you could use him more to better effect, but as it is now, it's fine. I don't mind. Now on to the coding. Okay, so in my notes here, I have sometimes had lazy coding, but it's forgivable. I have no idea what I mean by that. Oh, right! When I used to play mods about a year ago, I had this phrase called lazy coding, which was basically the characters all looked like they were just lazy and sleepy because their expression and poses wouldn't change for like 5 lines in a row, and it would only be when they would say a new line. Or if they just weren't involved in the conversation, they would just stand there in the same pose for 10 minutes and not move. These days, I wouldn't really call that a downside to a mod, because in my mind, coding that does change expression constantly and has characters reacting to what people are saying even when they're not talking, or changing positions just idly even when they're not really involved in the scene. That's a plus in my mind. What Exit Music has is just baseline coding, which is fine. I didn't notice any errors. The coding was very basic, not any sort of super amazing effects or anything, which it didn't need to have. Now we go into the art of Exit Music. The CGs, for me, were 50-50. A lot of the CGs were edits of pre-existing sprites or other CGs, and while they looked fantastic, you could tell they were edits. And like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the look of them, like the one of Natsuki in the bed and like them hanging in the snow are very nice. It's just, it's very clear that they're edits, especially when you compare them to the only CGs that are drawn, which are alluding to NSFW scenes, and they're just, it's such a different art style. It's just, I don't know, I feel like Exit Music severely underutilized their CGs. Like, they could have had such greater stuff than this, but they chose to go with fairly basic stuff. I don't know. It's fine, it works, it's just not as great as it could be. Sprites were all done well, they all looked fine. Didn't really have a problem with them. And the backgrounds were also really good. A few of them were copyrighted, which were half the reason Exit Music got taken down. I mean, they look nice. Now for the music. The soundtrack, I enjoyed the soundtrack a lot. It wasn't super memorable for me. I know many friends of mine who are huge fans of the song can be like, oh, this track, and can remember it beat for beat and actually like hum it out perfectly. I can't really do that. I've only played them on twice, to be fair, but I mean, like, it's just not that memorable for me. The music was all done by Radiohead, and again, this was also half the reason the mod was taken down in the first place, because they didn't use covers or anything of the song, they just used the original songs, and so it was copyrighted and got the mod taken down. Now, to go over my major critiques for the mod. I'm done going over just the general plots now. These are just the main problems that I couldn't fit into another category, or I just wanted to address now. First off, I do need to mention that this mod was spoiled to me. Like, the main ending where Natsuki hangs herself, that was spoiled to me before I even played, thanks to YouTubers. Jesus Christ, stop putting spoilers in your thumbnails, for fuck's sake. So obviously, the ending didn't have as much of an emotional impact for me as it would have done, which definitely brought the mod down in my opinion. But by that same length, I was not blinded by emotion saying that this mod is the perfect creation. I was looking at it objectively, just was I able to enjoy the story or not? Because I feel like most people who play it, they have an okay time for the most part, but then the ending hits, they get super emotionally distraught, and they just sort of forget what happens at the start because the ending is so good, and they sort of forgive all the problems earlier on, which is fine. If the mod hit you emotionally, then that's fantastic. Emotion can be a very hard thing to accomplish in story, and if Exit Music seems to be the most popular one that was able to do it for a lot of people, it just wasn't able to do it for me. Even if it hadn't been spoiled, I don't think I would have cried that much, because for me it wasn't so much of a sad scene as it seemed like the scene was just being played for shock. Like, there was no tension in trying to find Natsuki. It was just sort of, okay, we'll go grab Natsuki, we'll bring her back. Oh, she's dead. Natsuki? It's me. Nothing. Ugh, the hell with it. Swinging open the door. That's right, they do it super fucking quick. When I first played it, I was expecting them to have so much more build up to it, but they just go right at it. Natsuki? No, this. I'm not here. It's so strange. I completely get why people would be really hit hard emotionally by this, but to me, it was just sort of more surprise than sadness. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, the build-up they've had towards it is fine, but I really feel like they should have just built it up more. That's always been my problem with Exit Music, is that it is a really good mod. It can be really fun sometimes, but it could have been so much better than it is with just a few changes. I hate that missed potential that they had there. However, the scenes afterwards, where we're seeing MC's grief and how he's trying to live without Natsuki, those are depressing as fuck. Like, I think that is the point where most people go like, yeah, you need a day or two off after playing Exit Music for the first time, because like, yeah, sure, Natsuki's death may be shocking, but just living in MC's mind, it's so sad. Not bursting out in tears sad, but just sort of, oh, I feel really bad now. Again, that's another emotion that can be very difficult to hit for a lot of people, and Exit Music really nailed that. Even for someone like me, who Natsuki is by no means my favorite Doki. I am not that emotionally attached to her in any way, but it still got me fairly down, so that's an accomplishment in my eyes. We could also argue back and forth all day about whether Natsuki's suicide was built up. She does try to commit suicide at the very start, and then it's not really mentioned again. Which, I mean, she's been put in a new scenario, so I doubt she'd try to kill herself in MC's home, and being abducted by her dad would probably be devastating enough for her to cause her to do that, so, I mean, Sure, it's by no means a perfect setup to her death, but it's enough for me to give it a pass. Overall, I do think the mod is a little overrated. A lot of people tend to put it immediately at the top of S rank, fly, but to me, it just has far too many obvious flaws to be put in S tier. It's by no means a bad mod, it's definitely above average, but for me, it's just, it has so many major flaws that I just really can't consider it as great a mod as a lot of people put it out to be. If you think it's the greatest mod of all time and you enjoy it a lot, by all means, that's awesome. I'm not trying to take that away from you. Hey, my favorite mod is New Eyes. It's shit. It has so much vanilla. It can be so boring at times. Like, I get it. But anyway, that is gonna be it for my general overview of Exit music. I could sit here and talk about this shit for hours, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time. And editing hours and hours of me rambling is not gonna be fun. But I realize that a lot of you will probably have disagreements with what I said. I am open to criticism too. I am not a perfect human being. I can be wrong. So if you would like to have a civil discussion, you can talk to me down in the comments, you can message me on Discord, so long as it's civil. If you're being an asshole, I'm just going to ignore you. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been awesome to come back to this. You've probably seen clips of me playing the mod throughout this review. I do play mods live on Twitch every now and then, so if you want to see me play and review these games live or see my live reactions to them, you can follow me down in the link below. If you enjoyed, please let me know. Let me know what mod you'd like me to review next. And that's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much. It's good to be back. Bye. The school day is the same shit as always, and it's done before you can say, fuck the Prime Minister! Oi! Mr. Prime Minister! Cheap, old ass stuff, but like, it works! It really works! I'm so happy about that! So excited!